Welcome to Pensar Basketball. And if you are one of those Canadian sickos who got up at 7:15 like I did to watch this game, kudos to you. You were treated to some really impressive basketball on both sides. So first of all, a shout out to Team Australia that they played a hell of a game. I thought Josh Giddey was incredible. I'm not some sort of Josh Giddey supporter or super fan. I am a Dyson Daniels super fan. I'll give you that. And I thought that he was really impressive. That little flick layup was pretty cool. And overall, I think they had a very good showing from Jock Landell, who looked like he might be a little too much inside for Canada. On the Canadian side, you had a very efficient game from RJ Barrett, Star J, RJ Barrett, who was 8 for 14. At one point, he was, I think, 7 for 10. He was just great. He was really good. Of course, Team Canada is, we can't even talk about Team Canada without talking about Captain Canada, and that's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and he was impressive as hell. Picked his spots. No foul trouble today for Team Canada. Last game, of course, we had a lot of foul trouble against Greece, but there's no Giannis on this side, so no foul trouble today. Really, I mean, no real foul trouble. Dwight Powell, he may be Canada's best option, right? It's really a turnstile between the 3, 4 options that you have at the big, and none of them are real centers. Shout outs to ex Raptor Kim Birch, who took a lot of strays from me during his time with the Raptors for what I felt was underperforming his contract, but he has sort of revived his career with Team Canada, and he has been pretty good. We're going to talk a little bit about what I'm seeing from Team Canada. Of course, a lot of people are losing their minds a little bit, maybe going a little too far, and maybe we need to pump the brakes a little bit on what Canada's chances are to finish with gold and to give real pressure to Team USA. France, which is a team that, France and Serbia are two teams that are in that conversation with Canada as who is the best of the rest, right? I gotta say, none of them have looked perfect so far, but Canada is 2-0. They have been in the hardest group, in my opinion, Group A, and they are at the top of that group, and they are doing really, really well thanks to Dylan Brooks' 3 at the end with the point differential. So Canada is a really good bet to qualify, which is amazing because not only do they qualify to qualify, but they may actually qualify for past group stage, and they may get to the single elimination. Once there, however, they're going to have to shore up their lack of toughness inside because they don't have the greatest perimeter defense. Now, obviously, Lou Dort and Dylan Brooks may have limitations offensively. Dylan Brooks may not know that. He was pretty efficient today, 5 for 9. And let's take a look at the box score here because, again, the trio of Dylan Brooks plus RJ Barrett plus Shai Gilgeous-Alexander put up 56 of Canada's 93 points. None more impressive, of course, than RJ Barrett, who also went 3 for 6 from 3, got to the line 6 times, which is harder to do in the FIBA game anyways. They don't call continuation nearly as much. RJ did have 3 turnovers, and they were as ugly as they looked on first watch. And so, I think RJ is doing a fantastic job. I mean, if teams are going to key up on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and look, Canada could have been very much in trouble. Shai picked up 2 very early fouls in this game, and they lived through those minutes, and largely that was due to the offensive toughness of RJ Barrett and Dylan Brooks. I think inside Kelly Olynyk really struggled, and if you're a Raptor fan, that worries you a little bit because you're going to be relying on him to at least play 15 to 20 minutes a game for you next year. Just sign him to a 2-year, $24 million deal, and he looks really bad. He's getting bodied like you wouldn't believe. He's giving up offensive rebounds. He's virtually unplayable, and he should be, in theory, he should be the best big on this team. I think he's a better player overall, but this leads me to the thought process of what's better and what's better for what you need, right? No one's arguing that Jamal Murray is not a better player than Lou Dort or Dylan Brooks or even RJ Barrett. Sure, he's a better player in theory, but you have Shea and you don't have a traditional big. So you're going to need to overcompensate with a lot of defense on the perimeter, which means Lou Dort and Dylan Brooks are non negotiable for you, right? We just got into a debate, a very heated debate on player's choice about Derek White versus Jalen Brown, and I was very firmly on the Derek White is the right option for Team USA, but people just don't want to hear that because they think, but Jalen Brown's the better player. It's like, well, better for what? Better for you? Better for what you need? Because in the end, a player like RJ Barrett is playing very comfortably without the basketball. You're seeing him on catch and shoot situations, and he's getting himself going on that, and so it's been good. I wonder, when I have a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and I have a secondary creator like RJ Barrett who can pretty much get downhill virtually whenever the hell he wants, is comfortable playing in the phone booth, which he has been since he got to Toronto. I'm getting consistent production out of those two. So now I'm thinking, what do I need around those two, right? Now, if of course, if Andrew Wiggins is at his apex, if he's playing like Andrew Wiggins in the finals 2 years ago, yeah, Andrew Wiggins is a no-brainer as a third guy in that list, right? I mean, he's going to give me defense. Then I can pick and choose between Lou Dort and Dylan Brooks. And if I had a big time center, if I had a shot blocking center like a Rudy Gobert on this team, or even, to a lesser extent, a more advanced, older version of Zach Edey, maybe I can live with more Jamal Murray minutes. But right now, Jamal Murray is leaking oil defensively, and Kelly Olynyk is leaking oil on the glass. So I think that that is tough. Ken Birch was good tonight, as I mentioned. Nikhil Alexander Walker, one of the commenters said, we can't let Nikhil Alexander Walker shoot. And I said, no, can shoot, bro. He said, not since the season ended. And apparently that's true because he went 0 for 2 today. Andrew Nembhard had a tough night in terms of shooting efficiency, 1 for 6 from the field. Jamal Murray, another tough game, 2 for 7, but he hit two big ones, that pull-up jumper and then that three-pointer. So, Jamal is just coming in and it's a luxury, right? Like when you look at other teams, when you look at Team Japan that just played overtime against France, which was crazy that even happened. When you look at other teams and how depleted they are in terms of depth, the idea that you can bring off the bench three really good players, four really good players, four. Kelly Olynyk in my book is still a good player. But Nikhil Alexander Walker, Jamal Murray, and Andrew Nembhard off the bench is an embarrassment of riches, frankly, and no team has quite this level of basketball depth other than Team USA. The issue, however, for every team not named Team USA is how do you match up against Team USA? Okay, so let's talk about it. Does Canada stand a shot against Team USA? KAS saying Big Ox said they should have ran a play, and Rob said they were right to ISO. Yeah, I mean, it's a difference of opinions. I firmly believe that I'm right. With the Japan and France thing, we can talk about Japan, France right before the end. Also, before I forget, now that there's about 104 of you, at 3:30. Wait, hold on. Is it 3:30? 3:30? Yeah, 3:30 p.m., which is 34 minutes from now. My interview with Joe Tuomo, who is the man who discovered Joel Embiid, and also the guy. He has known Pascal. He has known Christian Coloco. He's watched these guys. We talked about all of them. We talked about his relationship with Masai, who he has known. They started scouting together. Joe was a scout for the Indiana Pacers. Masai was working for Orlando. They came up together. They started Giants of Africa together. So that entire relationship, we got to talk about that. It was fantastic. I put a lot of work into this video, guys. I did. I didn't think I was gonna, but I did. Because when I started editing it, I was like, yo, you might not get this chance again. It has driven me crazy for years and years. How many times I'll watch an interviewer that I don't respect interviewing someone that I very much respect and watching them blow it with like really dumb questions. And honestly, as someone who's been so critical of the people who ask questions, for me to come out and ask stupid questions is a non-negotiable. I can't do it. It's just my pride won't let me do it. So I tried to come up with really good questions to ask him. I dug real deep into the John Thompson, his relationship with Allen Iverson, whom he played with at Georgetown. I talked about all of that, right? And Cass saying, Rob, are you watching the video with us or just releasing it? That is the beautiful thing. I will be watching it with you. I will be watching with you in the live, and we will have a live chat. So you can tell me what worked, what didn't. And I would super appreciate a share or whatever, because I'll tell you, I didn't expect to work hard on this, but I was like, yo, I don't know who's going to see this. I don't, and sometimes it's a little disheartening. I got to be real. 100% with you guys. Sometimes you spend 15 to 20 hours editing a video, fine tuning all the details, getting everything right, perfect. And then the video just tanks because there isn't enough interest, or people who were super interested in Yurish last week are not interested this week, or maybe people don't think like, who's Joe Tuamu? Why do I have to listen to him? I already listened to the French one. Do I really need to listen to an English one? So there's always the possibility that a video like this ends up fizzling out. It does 2, 3,000, like the one I did with Jeff's trainer, right? Brian Inge. But I thought to myself, I don't care how many people watch this. I want everyone who watches this to watch something really good, something that pulls on their heart, something that makes them more knowledgeable about growth of the game in Africa. So here's a little teaser of it, okay? Toronto's Masai Ujiri determined to find the next Joel Embiid. 13 months prior to the 2024 draft, ESPN wrote another article. Now come on, Julius is a raw 18-year-old kid with potential, but the next Embiid? I had to get to the bottom of this. So I sat down with the man who discovered them both, Joe Tuamu, a dear friend of Masai Ujiri, one of the leading basketball minds in Africa, a former teammate of Allen Iverson, the former technical director of the NBA Africa Academy, who brought Joel Embiid to America and Shamshe to Senegal. We talked about his work with Giants of Africa, his earliest memories of Urish, how Urish compares with prospects like Embiid, Giannis, Siakam, and Koloko, and just how good this kid can be. If Joe is right, Shamshe will go down as one of the biggest steals in NBA draft history, and one of the best decisions the Raptors have ever made.
I'll be much stronger. I'll be much better in everything.
Masai Ujiri missed in 2013. He missed again in 2014. But as the saying goes, the third time's the charm. I wanted to accomplish a lot with this video. To be honest, like I wanted to make sure that it was something that I was proud of. I wanted to make sure it was something, because I have a feeling that Masai Ujiri is going to watch this. I wanted to make sure it was something that he'd be proud of, because I admire the hell out of the guy and I look up to him. I wanted to make sure it was something that Joe would feel was worth his time. And I really wanted it to be something that inspired Yurish, right? Because I spoke glowingly about him. We spoke glowingly about him. Of course, we explored some of his weaknesses, things that he can do better. It's not a hype piece or anything like that. It's pretty realistic, but of course, it is optimistic. And it is optimistic, most importantly, about the growth on a continent that so desperately, desperately needs that growth. So I am super excited for that video. I hope it does well. Fingers crossed it does well. But they say dress for the job that you want, not the one you have. And so I say I edited the video for the audience that I want, maybe not the one that I will get. But if this video, there's this idea in my head of, what if a really big, African, channel shares this or something like that, because it is quite informative. It is huge. It explores a lot of deep topics, and it does so in a very organized and succinct way. And what if the video does blow up? I remember the Scotty Barnes video. I didn't expect that video to get 250,000 views or whatever, but it did. So I thought to myself, if it does as well as I want it to, I don't want to be sitting there thinking, oh, I wish I'd edited it better. So I did. SP saying add this to your film festival. No, it will not be going to Pendance, but it is very much like a documentary. And, again, Bafang to the world, right? That's Ulrich's favorite, something that he says very often, from Bafang to the world, because Bafang it's a village, it's a small place in Cameroon, and it's where he comes from. It's where he carries. It's a place he wants to put on the map. Yaoundé, which is where Joel Embiid, Yemisi, Yannick Noah, all these guys, they come from there. Joakim Noah's father, they're coming from Yaoundé. You have guys coming from Douala, like Pascal Siakam, but then you have this kid from the mountains, and he just so desperately wants his part of Cameroon to be developed and to see. And when you listen to this video, try not to cry, because the way you learn about this kid is just beautiful. Anyways, so I will be doing that at 3:30, which is exactly 28 minutes from now. I'm going to hop off this live at 3:25, and I'm going to get ready for that one. Bring your popcorn, come watch it with me. It's going to be great. The homie Nick saying it looks great, Rob. I can't wait to watch it. Me too. I'm excited. A little bit nervous, but excited. Okay. So on to Team Canada's, odds. Look, I think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has a case to say he's one of the 3 best players in the world right now. I really believe that. I think he's so good, and I think he's so underrated and so there are shots that this guy hits that are like, I don't know how he got his feet to do that, but he did, and then when he went out with foul trouble, I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is looking like an upset." But Team Canada really came around defensively in the second half, and I think defensively is where they're gonna have to focus. RJ Barrett, as much as I wanna really glaze the guy for all the stuff that he did offensively, there's enough to be critical of here, and I hope that this will not come off as hate because it's not hate, it's realistic, right? RJ Barrett has been fantastic over the last year. I think one of my biggest gripes with him as a New York Knick was how often I felt that 2 bad weeks, 2 good weeks, 1 bad month, 1 bad month. Like it just another good month, then another bad month. You really didn't know which RJ you were going to get. Since being traded from the Knicks, you know which RJ Barrett you're going to get. You're getting better playmaking. You are getting defensive effort. You're getting a guy who hustles on the glass. You're getting a transition terror, a guy who really puts pressure on the rim. You're getting a guy who attacks the basket, right? And in a weird way, you almost want to be harder on the guy now because you're starting to see the doorway towards, oh my God, if he puts a couple more things together, could he be an all-star? Now, I don't know about that, but there's 2 to 3 things that I need more from him. If you go back and watch this game, very, very specifically hone in on his defense. Too often, there's too much being given up. There's a foul and an and one where he's wrapping up the guy incorrectly. There's a three-pointer where, he's not rotating correctly, and then the guy's just wide open for 3, and it costs you. These things cost you. Now, my big beef sometimes with basketball analysis is when a team wins, we don't dissect the weaknesses. When a team loses, we don't dissect the strengths. So if Canada had lost to Australia, oh, RJ's defense, Shay's foul trouble, no big, but now they won. But like winning and losing comes down to in and out. You know what I mean? Like this game could have gone either way in the fourth quarter, and it just so happens that Canada pulled away because they do have the best player by a country mile. And I could make a very solid argument. They also had the second best player in this game in RJ Barrett. And could also argue they have the third best player, but that might be crazy in Jamal Murray. So there's a massive talent advantage, and Canada should win this game. They should have won this game, and I'm glad they did. Dylan Brooks' decision making at times. Jeez. Sometimes. I think it was either to end the third quarter or to end the second quarter. I can't remember. 4 seconds to go. Dylan Brooks gets the ball on the left side of the floor. He passes back with 3 seconds. So he dribbles up once, passes back. Give me a W if you remember what I'm talking about. To Jamal Murray, who is now stuck having to heave from half court. Bro, you had 4.5 seconds when the ball was inbounded. You had Trey Lyles popping up. You didn't see it because you're not seeing the game or the floor well enough. Passing backwards in that situation is never an option. At the very least, go up and see if something opens up, right? It's a really bad idea. I think at some point, Dylan Brooks' decision making, Kelly Olynyk plus Trey Lyles plus Kem Birch plus Dwight Powell, like this lackluster big rotation, plus RJ Barrett, sometimes bad decision making. Now, he made some good decisions today. He also made some bad decisions today. Sometimes you make a really bad decision and it goes in. Jamal Murray making that, fade away, very contested too. You could say, yeah, that's just a shot that he hits. Well, he hasn't been hitting it for the last few months. So maybe that's not a shot you need to take right now. Find your teammates, move the basketball a little bit, right? I think Australia's a fantastic team. They really are. I was very impressed with what they did to the United States. They moved the ball very crisply. They are extremely well coached. That is not something I can say about Team Canada right now. They are winning on talent. They are not winning on coaching right now. Jordi Fernandez is a good coach. I hope that he will do better, that the team will do better with him. However, It does feel that Canada sometimes takes its talent for granted. And against the United States, you're not going to win the talent game. You're never going to win the talent game against the United States. You can flash this shit forward 15 to 20 years, you're never going to win the talent game. If a team is going to beat the United States, it's going to be three things. Number one, you're going to overwhelm them defensively inside, which is why I think a team like France, despite their close call with Japan, with more perimeter help, a duo of Wemby and Gobert could be like the kryptonite, right? That could be it. Because if you force a team to shoot a lot of jumpers, then really the success or failure in a single game elimination can come down to simply one team hitting shots, the other team not hitting shots. A lot of people are clowning Serbia right now because they lost by 26, and we didn't do a live after that game, USA Serbia. We can talk about that very briefly. I don't think it's nearly as bad as it looked. 26 points seems like a really big loss, but when you consider how absurdly well the United States shot from three, no one is ever going to beat that team. I don't think the dream team could have beat that team when they're shooting like that. Kevin Durant comes in. I mean, his entire shot chart looked like it was shooting practice for him. It was target practice. You think about it, the gap between the world and the United States is shrinking, but it has not shrunk to the extent that you can just overwhelm them with talent. You're never going to overwhelm this team with talent. It's always going to come through movement, defense, continuity, and luck. You're going to need some combination of all four of those things. Canada can do it if they play a different way. If they are willing to play the team game, right? Not focus on my turn, your turn basketball, they're going to do really well. They have bigs who can pass reasonably well. Kelly Olynyk is basically playing himself off the court right now, which is really sad because he is a guy who can actually give you some creation responsibility from that position. Kelly Olynyk plus Nickeil Alexander-Walker plus Jamal Murray plus Andrew Nemhard is a really good bench. It's a great bench, actually. It would look even better if you had an upgrade on one of Trey Lyles or Khem Birch. If you could bring a Dwight Powell off the bench and then, again, a fully realized, fully magnified, potentially jump shooting Zach Edey might be the answer, especially if he's a better shot blocker than he showed at Purdue, right? Client Holmes saying, take Canada's guards and add France's centers. That's exactly it. That's exactly it. I was thinking the entire time Katie was cooking Serbia, I was thinking to myself, if I could just put Katie on Serbia, I think USA would be in trouble. I really do. Because you couldn't gang up on Jokic then. And a guy like Bogdan Bogdanovic, who is currently over leveraged as a second option, would be perfectly fine as a third option next to KD and Jokic. And so you think about it from that perspective and you say, wow, are most teams just one superstar being born into their country or being coming up through the ranks away? And what team is most likely to do that? I will post the hypothesis because it ties into the next video very well. Can I bet that country is either going to be from Africa or Europe? Because the growth of the game in Africa right now, so something we talked about with Joe, I brought up the stat that 10% of the NBA currently, as constructed, is either African born or one of the parents is African born. So that would be your Victor Wembanyama's, your Joel Embiid's, right? So Victor Wembanyama, his father is Congolese. You take OG Anunoby, parents are Nigerian. Giannis Antetokounmpo, both parents Nigerian. So again, second generation removed, but still African, right? Right now, it's a 10%. What Joe estimated was that in 20 years, it could be 30%. And I fully agree with that. You see some of those tribes in Africa, you start to see the potential getting these kids involved in basketball earlier so that they're not all playing catch up for the first 7 years of their basketball careers. Yeah. If you give Pascal Siakam at age 12 the same tutelage as you're giving Cooper Flagg and Cade Cunningham, yeah, he might be just as good as those guys, right? He's clearly already better than Cade. So that's what I'm saying. Like a lot of African kids, I think, are just playing catch up a lot. The other thing, as I would say, France has a really good chance as well, right? So it's really someone is going to catch. Someone is going to be kind of on par with the United States. Now, you're never going to be on par total, but you might be on par with a 12-man roster, right? And even if you're not on par, you at least get close enough that you have a puncher's chance. Right now, the Team USA women's team has just won 56 straight Olympic matches. That is not a team that is going to get caught anytime soon. I think they will go 100-0 before they lose a game. They're not going to lose a game. They can't lose. They're too good. That's what Team USA men's team used to be like. They're not like that anymore, though. That's not the gap anymore. So, maybe it happens this year, maybe it happens 4 years from now, or maybe it happens in 2032. But at some point, some team is going to crack through, and I am really hoping that some big emerges in Canada somewhere. Where's Ivan Cheryev? No, I'm just kidding. Some big who is, or maybe a couple of bigs that can give this perimeter core of Shea, RJ, Jamal, Dylan, Lou, these guys, potentially Wiggs, I don't know. That's a really good perimeter team. Just don't have anything inside. It's been beaten to death, but I'm just saying, I think if you even had a Bam Adebayo, I would give you a chance at a gold medal. That's the gap. That's all you need. You need a Bam. Shit, can we have one of the bigs the USA is not using? Can we have a Walker Kessler on this team? Can we take a Jakob Poeltl? Could we take a Chet Holmgren if he's not good enough for y'all? Can we give Chet Holmgren you know what I mean? Like it's so close. It's infuriating how many guys are in America right now not good enough to qualify for their team. And I'm just like, man, if they naturalize to be bigs for Canada, so maybe if Canada can't create one, maybe we need to invest in one. Maybe we need to entice one. Maybe we need to bribe one. Can we do that? I don't want Joel Embiid, but can we take somebody? I don't know. So it's worth thinking about. The gap is not the gap is narrowing. The reason I don't think Canada has much of a chance is because I just don't think they have an answer for Joel Embiid and Anthony Davis and Bam Adebayo. I think they're too soft inside. It's not just that they're too small. Jock Landale is not huge. They're just too soft. They don't like physicality enough, and it is not enough. SP saying, could Scotty play center for Canada? Well, he can't. He can't be worse than what they have. I'll tell you that. He would be a problem at center for sure. He's not Canadian. That is fair. Yes. And Scotty, I don't think will ever play for Team Canada. It's kind of funny, I was thinking about Scotty and SGA because I think someone brought it up in the last live and they were just like, Scotty and SGA, that'd be great. SGA should come to OKC. And I think it was Lil Jon who brought it up on the call. And I was getting frustrated because part of the reason I was getting frustrated is that I don't think it's ever going to happen. The other reason I was getting really frustrated is I wish it would happen because Scotty plus Shea is such a dynamic pairing. It's such a beautiful basketball fit. It's the best. It's the best basketball fit. Shea would love playing with Scotty. Unfortunately, Scotty's never going to play for the Canadian national team. That's not happening. Let's just not think about it. And I don't think Shea's ever going to play in his prime for Toronto. So it's just maybe it's not something that's ever going to happen unless we trade Scotty to OKC at some point. So it's just one of those what ifs. But from a basketball synergy perspective, it's a really, really, really good fit. I think, there was a Clutch Points. I don't like to give those guys too many shout outs, but there was a Clutch Points article on who should be Team USA in 4 years. And there were some names and there was a notable omission. Okay. So there were names like Ja Morant, Zion Williamson, Anthony Edwards, Tyrese Halliburton. I could not believe Tyrese Maxey was not on that list. I could not believe Chet Holmgren was not on that list. And I absolutely lost my damn mind that Scotty Barnes is not on that list. Scotty Barnes will be on Team USA's Olympic squad, I believe. I understand that right now, maybe you can make a case that FIBA's not really his jam, right? He's maybe not the person that's going to most benefit from FIBA rules, given the lack of spacing, the condensed courts, all that stuff. But man, I think this kid is born to compete. I think he would love to compete for his country. And the skills are getting a lot better. A lot better. Daniel Franklin saying, Rob, did you see the story on Raptor Republic? Latest reports suggest Raptors players will make less money than their peers about new CRA tax rule for athletes. I did not see that. And I have to admit, I am very dense when it comes to talking about taxes. So this is something that I need to learn more about, and I will learn more about. That would be fantastic. The Jigsaw Puzzle saying Maxi got drug tested for his growth. Huh? You should do a video to compare financial versus MBA. I don't understand this comment. Please explain if you can. So overall, I think what would Team Canada need to do to beat the United States? Well, I think number one, they're going to need to guard their asses off, right? They're absolutely going to like absolutely. RJ's gonna have to lock in. Shay's gonna have to lock in. He shout out to Shay. He had like 5 stocks today. It was great. 3 steals, 2 blocks for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. So they're gonna have to dial in defensively. Like whatever they did the second half, they're gonna have to dial that up times 2. Okay. So they're gonna have to do that. They're gonna have to hit a ton of threes, which means Jamal Murray is gonna have to be a really big part of anytime the US faces Canada. Jamal Murray's gonna have to go off. Like we're talking like 25 points off the bench, right? He's gonna have to be great because it's gonna be pressure, right? It's the pressure. It's the pressure that RJ Barrett puts on the rim or Shai Gilgeous-Alexander that puts on the rim that allows a guy like Dwight Powell or a guy like Kelly Olynyk or Trey Lyles to dive backdoor. That's how basketball works. So you're gonna need Jamal Murray to be extended pressure off the bench. You're gonna have to overwhelm. Unfortunately, Team USA has 2 guys on their roster right now that collected DNP CDs in the last game that would probably be your second option on this team, and Jason Tatum and Tyrese Halliburton. Those guys are not playing. They would be the second option on Team Canada right now. 100%. Bet money. Add in it, you have guys like Paolo Banchero, Scotty Barnes, you have Chet Holmgren, you have Kyrie Irving, you have Ja Morant, Zion Williamson. How many players? How many players can I go? Jalen Brunson. All of these guys are better than your second option. The gap is so crazy that I don't think people realize how big it is. So, in order to beat Team USA, there's a reason they're so overwhelmingly, favored. In order to beat them, you're going to need a miracle, but you're going to need a massive, massive tone shift in how you're playing basketball. Do you think Shea is better than Tatum right now? 100%. Yes, I do. He is a better player. Yes. Can't stand the folks saying, yep, and we're already undersized, so we're going to have to find a way to control the boards and score second chance opportunities. Well, you don't need to grab rebounds if you just hit every single shot, Jamal Murray. No, I'm just kidding. You're right. Look, you're not going to grow. All these players are too old to grow at this point. You don't have any 17-year-old that you're hoping for a miracle growth spurt from at this point. So what you're going to have to do is be really physical. I mean, you just have to be grown men about it, right? Kem Birch, Trey Lyles, right? Dwight Powell, Kelly Olynyk. That's the weakness. It's not rocket science, right? The perimeter defenders can only do so much, obviously. Defense, I've already talked about it, works on 3 levels. It works on point of attack, then help, then cleanup, right? At the rim. The Raptors don't, the Raptors. Team Canada does not have that third level of their defense in any significant way. They don't have a big time shot blocker, a rim deterrence is not really there. So the game plan is always going to be to bait on a switch, to get a guy like RJ or Jamal Murray involved in a pick and roll, and then just milk it and probably slip a big back door. You know what I mean? Like Joel Embiid versus Dwight Powell is not going to be fun for anybody, right? So I do think Team Canada is going to rely very much on some growth internally. But I think for now, which you don't want to waste this opportunity, you never know. You never know if this core ever comes up again. You cannot relegate yourself to, well, we don't have the big, so we're going to lose. You must shift play style, though. You must. You must play more of a team game. I don't like the decision making so far for Team Canada. I haven't liked their overall toughness. They really did not start out well. They haven't been super disciplined. They're not making easy reads sometimes. And I do think that these things are going to catch up with you when you face up against better competition. Now, you faced up against Greece, who have lost both their games so far, right? You faced up against Australia. You're 2-0 in this group, which is great. Australia is 1-1, so you probably get out of this group, no problem. So now it's like it's gel, right? I hate to say it, the secret ingredient in all of this is Jamal Murray. If you don't have a chance defensively, at least on the inside, you must overwhelm them with shooting on the outside. And there is not one player who is capable, probably more capable of, hitting four, five, six threes a game and just really tilting the offensive bounds than Jamal Murray. They really need him to be better than he's been. Daniel Franklin saying, why isn't Brandon Clark on Team Canada? Well, he has been dealing with injuries and he has just come back recently from an injury. They required a 3-year commitment. And, unfortunately, he was injured for most of that time. So he just hasn't gelled with that group. But I do love this 3-year commitment thing, having that time to gel, having that time to work together, having that time. But it's unfortunate that a team that has had now 2, 3 years to sort of gel isn't looking more cohesive out there, right? I hope they're going to find it. I really do. I'm rooting for just about anybody but Team USA at this point. I really want them to lose. I gotta say, as an American citizen, as well as a Canadian citizen, as well as someone who's born in Yugoslavia, born in Serbia, it doesn't really. I can't say like I'll be super upset if any of those teams win. But I gotta say, as much as I love African basketball, and as much as listening to Joe talk about Joel's journey, learning even more about Cameroon, doing so much research for the video that I just did, it does make me really sad that I don't like Joel Embiid more than I do. I wish I liked Joel Embiid a lot. I wish I loved Joel Embiid. I just don't. I don't. I don't like him. I can't stand the guy. I think he's a troll. I think he's dirty, and I just don't like him. Like he's a flopper, right? And I can't stand that energy, and it sucks. It sucks. You know, Ugh. Can't stand them folks saying, Rob, where did you live when you were in the States? New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Nashville. So mainly New York, but little bit of New Jersey. Shout outs to Newark, shout outs to Hoboken, shout outs to Somerville, and then also a little bit of Pennsylvania. Not a lot. Didn't live in Philly, and then a little bit of Nashville, right? Daniel Franklin saying it's showtime. All right, you are correct. It is showtime. Hold on. Let me just pull this up here. So let's just make sure that the live is good. Okay, so can y'all do me a favor? Okay, so I got 173 of you in here. This is scheduled for premieres in 3 minutes. Oh my goodness, I'm gonna have to run right off this. Can y'all go over and give this video a like? It will catch more people in there. That's 2 likes right now and 6 of you waiting. I'm gonna like it myself just because I'm sad like that. We got 6 people waiting. All right, 7 people waiting. All right, we're building up. Clan Home saying you have a Christopher Walken New York accent. I most certainly do not have a I most certainly do not have a Christopher Walken accent, nor do I have a Brooklyn accent. And it took me a very, very long time to shake my New York accent. And you got to believe when you like coffee and you keep saying coffee, 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 and people just it drives me crazy. Anyways, I am really looking forward to this. Premieres in 3 minutes. I'm excited. This video is awesome. It was a 94-minute video that was condensed down to 75, and there's chapters. So don't worry if you're at work, you want to watch it later, no problem. There's chapters, it's nicely broken up. I hope it's good, man. And I am really hoping that when I'm watching it, I don't notice some big mistake, because I got to tell you, 2 whole days of editing this, I haven't watched it fully. I just watched piece, piece, piece. So I'm hoping it flows together. And the reason I had to delete the previous one and upload this one is I wanted it to be a little bit louder. I'm not a sound mixer, so this part is always a little bit shaky for me, especially when you're dealing with 2 people who have two very different mics. You have to even it out because his mic is coming off his tablet and it just sounds different. So I hope it's great. I hope you like it. And I'll see y'all in there and I'll be chatting along with you. Nick Laugh saying coffee. Yep. Please say, I'm walking here. That's hilarious. No, I think I just did. All right. Talk to y'all later and see y'all over there.